It's so interesting too, because we're talking in the month of February, my favorite month when companies remember that Black people exist in the world. I'm just kidding. That's really what it feels like though during Black History Month, where suddenly you'll see people come out of the woodwork and say they care so much about the experiences of others. And you've worked in DEI for such a long time. When you see these things happening, do you ever think to yourself, like, this is just performative? I'm watching performative work at its best.
But here's the thing. Like, okay, so the reason why Black History Month, aside from the obvious reasons, is my favorite is because it's the one that starts off all of the observances month for the year. So what companies are starting to do for Black History Month, they're likely may do for Women's History Month, for LGBTQ. Like, there's a slew of observances months, right? And I think, it's fair to say that we should have a comprehensive conversation on what the goal is to celebrate these months. Like, what are you trying to achieve? Which goes back to your DE&I strategy. Like, what's your goal, right? And in celebrating this, and that should inform how you then in fact actually do it, right? Yeah. So it's fascinating to me because as I think more and more about embedding DEI into business operations and strategy, so many companies are treating this like an initiative, like a throwaway, like, hey, shortest month of the year, group of people. There's historical ways of they've done it badly. When Walmart did that whole, like, was it like kente cloth ice cream or something? I don't know.
I was about to say, in my head, I thought it was ice cream, but I was going to wait for you to say it. They did something awful with ice cream and everyone was like, ooh, too far.
Right. And so a lot of this leads to who's in the room when you're making these decisions about these groups of people. Having studied DEI for a really long time, IBM was one of the first companies that actually implemented a comprehensive DE&I strategy in the 90s because they were like, we want to increase our business. And how do we do that? And they hired a DEI person whose whole mission it was to say, like, okay, sales, go out into these communities that we are not touching, right? And let them know that we are a viable company for them to be part of, so that therein, increase their visibility and increase their sales. Like, they literally just were like, we are trying to expand. This is good business. I think there are some companies who are just standing on either it's the right thing to do and we have no idea how to do this thing, right? Or it's a marketing initiative, but we don't really intend on implementing it internally. So we do things like kente cloth, ice cream, if that's even what it is. I can't even remember.
I can't remember what it was either. I need to Google this afterwards. Ice cream Walmart. I just remember the internet was like ablaze that day. Everyone was like, no.
Awful. So I feel, and what I've been doing lately is just quietly observing how companies are celebrating this month, particularly this year in an election year that's going to be really contentious. A lot of things are happening politically and socially. If you say, and we have like all of these, companies who are deciding that DEI is not part of their agenda, and that's fine. Like, I grew up with parents and grandparents who were like, you don't like Black people? Let me know out loud so I can just completely avoid you altogether. I'm okay with that. Like, if that's your whole thing, if you're like, I don't care about this whole community, I'm actually fine. Show yourself. That's fine with me. But the pretenders are the ones that are most difficult. So, I'm getting all of these, like a lot of people, like my inbox is flooded with newsletters and, recipes and all of these different things I get like daily. It just drives me crazy. And I just go on a massive deletion spree. But I've been noticing, I'm like, so for Black History Month, some of these like food newsletters can't even celebrate like Black food. Like, there's not enough content, you mean to tell me, when it comes to Black food, that you can't highlight some content creators who are doing interesting things when it comes to food? Like, do we not contribute to the fabric of a food industry?
Yeah.
We don't?
Dang. That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. That's not a lot, because I agree with everything you're saying, to be very clear. And I feel the same way. That's why we were talking about this today. Right. You're right. I mean, for me, it's like, if you're going to say, I do like the thought on like, if you don't care, just say you don't care.
Right.
Like that is, I respect that more than you telling me like, we care about the Black experience. And then I look at your company and you don't have a single person of color on your executive team. You don't have your compensation policy at all visible to your employees. You don't put pay ranges on your jobs. I'm like, there's a lot of things that tell me that you do actually care about that. And so like, if you don't, like maybe don't put out a statement.
Don't even say anything. Like I was talking to another colleague, he was saying he respects it. Like for example, there's one company that just did a lot of layoffs, and most of their layoffs hit the Black population. So they're not doing anything that's like Happy Black History Month, right? Because they're like, we know we just basically decimated that demographic within our company, and that's that's fake. So like we're not in a position to say that we value that.